Welcome back to the Jikook news channel. Jungkook's confession. When everyone was laughing, only Jimin protected him. True love, broken heart. That night, BTS's New Year's live broadcast felt different. It wasn't because of the grandiose concept or the over-the-top decorations, but because of the sheer warmth. The 7 members gathered at RM's house, sitting close together, laughing carefree, as if the outside world had paused to give them space to breathe after a long, tiring journey. Laughter flowed freely among them. Jin with his trademark jokes, Taeyong laughing with his unique expressions, J-Hope spreading bright energy, Suga smiling slightly as he observed, RM enjoying the moment as host, and Jungkook looking relaxed like the youngest child finally coming home. It all felt so normal, so human. But it was precisely in the midst of that relaxed atmosphere that a small, almost missed moment occurred. It was unplanned, not dramatically captured by the camera, and not meant to be symbolic of anything. But precisely because of that, it was so powerful. As Jungkook moved, his body momentarily lost its balance and fell onto the sofa. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dangerous, just a small, spontaneous incident. The room's reaction was spontaneous. Laughter erupted. Jokes were thrown around. The atmosphere remained as light as before. Everyone laughed. Everyone. That is, except for one person. Jimin didn't join in the laughter. In a split second, his expression changed. His eyes fell directly on Jungkook. There was no smile, no overreaction, just pure focus. It was as if the world around him disappeared, leaving only the one thing that mattered before him. Without hesitation, Jimin approached. His hand reached out gently, not to joke, but to reassure. A simple question escaped his lips, barely audible, asking if Jungkook's neck was okay. His tone was low, full of care, like someone who truly cared. It wasn't an act, nor was it a reaction faked for the camera. It was a reflex born of paying attention, of a bond formed not overnight, but through years of togetherness, ups and downs, wounds and healing. Jungkook himself seemed momentarily taken aback, not by the fall, but by the attention. His smile slowly emerged, a small smile different from the laughter before. There was a sense of security there, a sense of someone always watching, even when the world was laughing. To some, this might be a trivial detail, but to those who paid attention, this moment spoke louder than words, about how true caring often exists in silence, not in the spotlight. Jimin didn't need to be a big hero. He didn't raise his voice, didn't draw attention. He simply made sure Jungkook was okay, then returned to his position, as if nothing had happened. But that's where the meaning lies. Years ago, Jungkook had spoken about his difficult times, about the pressure, about insecurities, about the laughter that sometimes hid the pain. On numerous occasions, he had referred to Jimin as someone who was always there, who noticed the little things when others might not. That night, that confession felt alive. It wasn't expressed in words, but demonstrated through actions. When everyone was laughing, Jimin chose to check. When the mood was light, he remained vigilant. And that wasn't a coincidence. There's a kind of love that doesn't require grand confessions. Love that doesn't have to be announced. It's present in small habits, in protective reflexes, in the simple desire to ensure someone we care about doesn't get hurt. Jimin and Jungkook have grown together. From awkward teenagers to grown men carrying the enormous burden of being global icons. Along the way, they've seen each other at their most vulnerable. And perhaps that's why Jimin's reaction that night was so natural. For Jungkook, falling onto the couch might have been nothing. But for Jimin, the slightest possibility of pain was enough to make him move. That's the difference between simply being present and truly caring. The moment passed quickly. Laughter filled the room again. The cameras continued rolling. But for the many hearts watching, something lingered. A warmth that's hard to explain, yet easy to feel. True love isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just a quick outstretched hand, a watchful eye, and a gentle question in a crowd. True love chooses to protect, even when no one asks. That New Year's Eve was a reminder that beneath the glitz and glamour of the stage and the spotlight, there's a real human bond. a bond built on empathy, care, and a sense of responsibility for one another. That small moment seemed to mirror their relationship, one that had rarely been discussed openly but always felt. There was an emotional intimacy that didn't require public validation. Jimin didn't have to ask twice, and Jungkook didn't have to explain anything. The language between them had already formed long before the cameras were even on. In a world that constantly demanded Jungkook to be strong, to be perfect, Jimin's presence provided a quiet, safe space. He didn't demand Jungkook look okay. He just wanted to make sure Jungkook was truly okay. And that difference meant a lot. Many people loved Jungkook for his talent and charm. But Jimin loved Jungkook in his most human form, the one who could stumble, lose his balance, and need someone to simply ask, "Are you okay?" Without judgment, without expectations. Amidst their busy lives and unseen pressures, moments like that became an anchor. A reminder that before they were BTS, before they were global idols, they were human beings who cared for each other. And Jimin, in his gentle way, always took on that role without being asked. Jimin's reaction that night also demonstrated one important thing. True care doesn't wait for permission. It emerges spontaneously, honestly and honestly. It doesn't matter whether others notice it or not. What matters is that the person he cares about is safe. For Jungkook, small acts of kindness like that may be the reason why he always smiles again, why he's able to stay longer than he thought possible. Because behind the laughter and the stage lights, there's someone who sees him not as a star, but as Jungkook who needs to be cared for. The night passed without any grand declarations. No confessions of love were spoken. But it's precisely in that silence that the most honest truth resides. Love isn't always about pretty words, but about who remains by your side when everyone else is looking the other way. And perhaps that's why that brief moment lives on in the memories of so many. Because in it, we see something rare, sincerity. A love that's quiet, undemanding, but always present, even when the world is laughing. And perhaps that's where its beauty lies. When everyone laughs, there's one heart that chooses to be sure. When the world feels light, there's one soul that remains vigilant. Jungkook's confession about Jimin doesn't always come in long sentences. Sometimes, it comes in a small smile after a fall. In a sense of security that needs no explanation. In the belief that no matter what happens, there's someone who will protect him, even in the simplest of moments.